pay for kicking my family out of my home after they uninvited me from their party? My name is Amanda, and I am 34 years old. I work as an account manager at an international company, the kind where you handle big clients, respond to messages at all hours, and jump on flights like it's routine. My life often feels like it happens between conference rooms and airport terminals out of O'Hare, but the paycheck makes it worthwhile. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. 6 months ago, I finally bought something I had dreamed about for years. An old Victorian mansion in a historic neighborhood of Chicago. It has those soaring high ceilings, creaky wooden floors, and large windows that flood the rooms with beautiful natural light. It is in an area full of homes with real character and history. My friends love coming over, not for me to be honest. They come for the house. They arrive, snap photos, post stories, pose on the grand staircase, and gush over the stained glass windows. Last week my friend Paige came by with her camera and went crazy. "Amanda, this place is gorgeous," she kept saying while clicking away. "Even the hallway looks amazing." I smiled, but on the inside I was thinking about something else. There is something none of my friends fully understand. My parents and my younger sister have never set foot in this house. They do not even know I bought it. We have not spoken in 16 years. And it was not because of some silly argument. It was because of a betrayal. When I was 18, I got accepted into college with a full tuition scholarship. I was thrilled. I had studied as if my life depended on it. I arrived home with the letter in my hand and felt like I was finally going to breathe. But I also knew something else. Since I was a little girl, I had heard my parents talk about money they were saving for college. It was not an account in my name, it was their savings, but they always talked about it as if it were for me and my sister Rachel, who is 5 years younger. I would hear them discussing it when they thought I was not around. That savings fund was large. My parents would mention it carefully, like someone counting bills without wanting to say it out loud. Over the years, I understood it was close to $100,000. I did not expect them to hand me a life of luxury. I just thought about what was logical. The scholarship paid for tuition. Yes, but I was going to study a few states away. I had to pay rent, transportation, buy books, supplies, a decent computer, and food. The scholarship did not cover living expenses. I will never forget that conversation. We were in the kitchen. I had the letter in my hand and could barely stand still. "Mom, Dad, I got the full scholarship," I said. "Full?" My mom smiled, but something in her face made me lower my voice. "That's great, honey," she said. "What a joy." I took a deep breath. So, about the college savings, I started trying to sound calm. I wanted to talk about it. My dad looked at my mom. They said things without speaking, the way couples who have been together for years do. Then my dad cleared his throat. "Look, Amanda," he said. "Since you already have a scholarship, we decided that money is going to stay with Rachel." I just stared at them as if I had not heard correctly. "What do you mean it's going to stay with Rachel?" "Well, yes," my mom said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "You do not need it anymore." "Yes, I do need it," I replied quickly. "The scholarship does not pay for rent, it does not pay for food, it does not pay for supplies. No one is going to hand me a free apartment." My dad cut me off. "You will figure out how to manage. You are smart. You earned the scholarship." I felt the heat rise to my face. "But that money was for me too," I said. "You guys always said it was for both of us." "Rachel is going to need it," my mom answered. "We do not know if she will have the same opportunities." That was when I broke. A mix of anger and pain poured out of me. "This is unfair," I said, not caring anymore. "You are leaving me on my own. You are betraying me." Before I could finish processing the word, my mom lashed out and struck me hard across the face. My cheek burned and my ear rang. "Do not you dare speak to us like that," she said through gritted teeth. My dad got up from his chair. His face was red, as if I were the one in the wrong. "Get out of this house," he said. "Right now." I stood up shaking. "Perfect," I yelled. "I am leaving. I am leaving and I am not coming back." That day I packed boxes as if I were tearing off my own skin. I threw in clothes, notebooks, photos, whatever I could. I cried out of anger, fear, and humiliation. Rachel peeked into my room quietly. She did not say a single word to me. The next day I called a taxi and left with my bags. I had no plan, only my pride and a weird mix of sadness and rage. Paige's parents took me in. They gave me a room, they did not charge me rent, and they did not ask uncomfortable questions. They just told me to calm down and that I could be at peace there. I felt like a burden, so I started working part-time at a coffee shop nearby. I saved every dollar. When the time came to leave for college, Paige's mom hugged me and slipped an envelope into my hand. "It is $3,000, she told me, "for the deposit and to get you started so you do not leave running on empty. We believe in you." I was left speechless. That, coming from someone who was not blood, hit me harder than anything else. With that money, I rented a room with 2 roommates. I studied during the day, and at night I worked whatever shifts I could find, sometimes at the coffee shop, sometimes at a copy center, sometimes helping a lady with her store. While others went back home for the holidays, I stayed behind working double shifts. I ate the cheapest things available. Instant ramen, plain sandwiches, rice, whatever I could afford. I learned to stretch my money as far as it would go. Rachel sent me a couple of cards the first year, short things, not saying much. I did not answer. I could not. Everything still stung. After that, she did not send anything else. Neither did I. There was a huge silence that became a habit. I graduated, joined a large company, and worked my way up. It was hard. It was exhausting. But I made it. And when I finally reached stability, I bought this house. The Victorian mansion was my proof that I could do it, and it was also my sanctuary, or so I thought. One Saturday morning, I was relaxing with a coffee in my hand. When there was a knock on the door, I went to open it without overthinking it, and I almost dropped my mug. There stood my mom, my dad, and Rachel, as if no time had passed, as if 16 years had not gone by. "Hello, Amanda," my mom said with an overly sweet smile. I just stood there, unable to move. My dad was looking at the facade with approval, as if he were evaluating a purchase. Rachel was not even looking at me. She was on her phone. "Aren't you going to invite us in?" my mom asked. Before I could react, they slipped inside the moment I opened the door. They walked in as if they were in a rush to claim the space. I followed behind them, still in shock. My dad let out a low whistle when he saw the living room. "It is nice," he said. "One of those old houses. It looks expensive." My mom was already touching things, looking at paintings, opening doors. "Why did you not tell us you bought a house?" she asked. "What about the housewarming? Not even a dinner, nothing." I finally found my voice. "You and I have not spoken in 16 years. My mom waved her hand as if I were exaggerating. "That is in the past," she said. "It is over. We are not going to dwell on that." I felt the urge to scream. "How did you find my address?" I asked. "We ran into your friend Paige's mom at the supermarket," my mom answered, "and she chatted with us. She said you were doing great, that you had a gorgeous house." Paige and I still kept in touch from time to time, and her mom, as always, was one of those people who believe that bringing people together is always a good idea. "And why did you come?" I asked. "Because I doubt you came just to say hi." Rachel finally looked up. She was 29 years old. She was pretty, yes, but her look was exactly the same as always. My mom sat on my couch as if it were hers. "Rachel has news," she said. For a second I had a naive thought. I thought maybe they came to fix things. Rachel smiled. "I am getting engaged," she said. "Brandon proposed to me last month and we are going to throw a party." "Congratulations," I said, choosing my words carefully. I waited for the invitation. I waited for them to at least say, "We want you to be there." But Rachel let out a little laugh. "We did not come to invite you," she said. I blinked. Then my mom leaned toward me, looking excited. "Rachel saw pictures of your house on social media. A friend of yours posted some photos and she fell in love with this place." My stomach dropped. Rachel sat up straighter. "We want to have the party here," she said. "At your house." I kept staring at her. "Excuse me, what?" "It is perfect," she continued, getting excited now. "It has an incredible vibe. It looks like it is from another era. We want a themed party like early 20th century. This place is ideal." My mom clasped her hands together happily. "Is it not wonderful?" she said. "It would be a beautiful way to bring the family back together." I felt like laughing, but it was a laugh of disbelief. "No," I said. I am not going to do that. The air grew heavy. My mom's smile vanished. Amanda, you are being very resentful, she said with that sharp voice I remembered perfectly. Let go of the past already. Grow up. This would be an opportunity for us to reconcile. I do not want to reconcile, I answered. My dad finally spoke up with a judge's tone. What a shame, he said. We raised you better than this. I let out a dry, sarcastic laugh. You raised me better, I repeated. You kicked me out at 18. You were disrespectful, my mom replied. And look, you did well for yourself. We even did you a favor. Rachel adjusted her dress. Well, this did not go how we wanted, she said. But think about it. Family matters. They headed toward the door. Think it over carefully, my mom said from the entryway. Think about what is important and do not embarrass us. And they left as if they had come to borrow a table, not to invade my life. The following days were pure hell. My cell phone would not stop ringing. Aunts I did not even know were still alive. Cousins I had not seen since middle school. All giving me the same speech. Let her have her party, Amanda. Let it go. Do not hold a grudge. She is your sister. Why do you need to complicate everything? What will people say? They sent me messages, ridiculously long voice messages. Some spoke to me nicely. Others talked to me as if they were scolding me. Almost always during my lunch hour or late at night, when you are most tired and have the least patience. One aunt, Aunt Carol, kept me on the phone for almost 40 minutes. She is your only sister, she told me. And she has always admired you. I clenched my jaw. Oh really? I replied. How funny, because when I left home at 18, nobody admired me, nobody called me, nobody came looking for me. Those were different times, she said, desperate to justify it. You were girls. Now you are adults. Act like an adult already. Every day someone pressured me, and every call left me more tired, more invaded. I started sleeping poorly. I had trouble concentrating at work. The mansion, which was my sanctuary, started to feel like a trap, and in the end I gave in. Not because they convinced me, but because I could not stand the noise anymore. I called my mom. Fine, I said when she answered. I will do it. My mom let out a theatrical sigh. I knew you would come to your senses, she said. But I have conditions, I managed to say. She had already hung up on me. The next day they arrived at my house as if it were theirs. They walked in excitedly, talking over each other. We can put the tables here, Rachel was saying, pointing at my dining room. And an arch with flowers and lace right here, my mom added. Something very fine and vintage. Rachel kept going on about chandeliers and candles, and I just looked at them feeling like I could not breathe. I only ask you for one thing, I said. Do not damage my house. Do not move things carelessly. Of course not, my mom answered, but she was already looking at my table as if it were part of the rented furniture. The party, according to them, was in 2 weeks, and from that day on my house became planning central. 2 weeks during which I would get home from work and find people inside. My mom and Rachel, sometimes with Brandon the fiancé, sometimes with his parents. There were people measuring, taking pictures, making lists. Brandon's parents, Linda and Robert, were polite, but they still commented on everything. The wood is so beautiful, Linda would say. You do not see this anymore. You are so lucky. I smiled out of politeness, but on the inside I was exhausted. There was no more silence. There was no more peace. There was the smell of flowers and conversations about centerpieces, as if it were the most important thing in the world. One night my mom cornered me in the kitchen. Amanda, she said with a sweetly fake voice, could you give me a spare key so we are not bothering you? That way we can come decorate while you are at work. Rachel looked at me with a pleading face. I was drained. I just wanted it to end. I opened the drawer where I kept my keys and gave her a copy. Just take care of my house, I said. Of course, my mom replied. Since I was already roped into this, I figured I was not going to just show up to the party looking like whatever. I bought an antique-style dark green dress with subtle details. It was not to show off. It was more of an act of self-love. The mansion began to transform. Lace curtains in the living room, a candelabra on the fireplace, rose arrangements everywhere, ribbons, tablecloths, boxes full of stuff. One day I came home and they had moved a couch. Another day my table had marks from something heavy. Magnets I never bought appeared on my fridge, holding up lists I never wrote. I felt like a guest in my own space. 2 days before the party I was in my home office trying to get ahead on some work. Then I heard voices downstairs. My mom and Rachel were chatting happily, as if I did not exist. The catering is all set for 45 people, my mom was saying. Perfect, Rachel replied. And the photographer arrives at 7 to take pictures before people get here. My mom laughed. Good thing Amanda will not be here getting in the way of the photos. I froze. Rachel let out a little laugh. Yeah, she said. It is going to be better without her standing there looking miserable. I felt the breath get knocked out of me. I walked downstairs slowly. What did you just say? I asked from the stairs. That I am not going to be here. My mom looked up, totally unbothered. Oh, you heard, she said. Well, yes. You yourself said the first time that you did not want to go. So we did not count you in for the food or a seat at the table. But this is my house, I said, feeling my voice crack from anger. The party is at my house. Of course I am going to be here. Rachel smiled at me with that sweetness that disgusted me by now. You do not have to be, she said. We have the key. Remember? You can go out. Do something for yourself. You have never liked big parties anyway. I stared at them. Are you serious? It is easier this way, my mom answered, turning back to look at some pieces of jewelry. The party is for family and friends. You do not know anyone anymore. You will feel weird. I do not know anyone because you erased me for 16 years, I said. Exactly, Rachel replied. So why make everyone uncomfortable? That was when something clicked into place inside me. They had not changed. They never changed. They were using my house, my space, my patience, and on top of that they wanted me out. I took a deep breath and smiled. You are right, I said. My mom blinked. What? You are right, I repeated. I am better off doing something for myself. You guys already have everything under control. Rachel's eyes lit up. That is great, she said. I knew you would understand. I understand perfectly, I replied. I am going to go upstairs to make plans for Saturday. Excellent, my mom said. We will finish up here and lock up when we leave. I walked up the stairs calmly, but on the inside I was already making decisions. They wanted me not to be there. Perfect. I was not going to be there, but not in the way they thought. I sat at my computer and started looking for a nice hotel on a lake. About 2 or 3 hours out of the city, leaving early with little traffic. I picked one in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I booked Saturday and Sunday with a water view. Then I started making phone calls. Good morning, I said. I am Amanda. I need a locksmith for early tomorrow. I want to change all the locks. Yes, it is urgent. They scheduled me for 8 in the morning. I made another call. Hello, I need a cleaning crew for tomorrow. There are decorations that need to be taken down and stored in the garage. I need you to arrive at 9 in the morning. They told me yes. I hung up and felt something resembling peace for the first time in weeks. It was not joy. It was control. I wrote a note to leave on the door. I made sure I had everything ready to go. I charged my cell phone, not because I wanted to answer them, but because I knew it was going to rain fury. That night I slept. The party was at 7 in the evening. My mom, Rachel, and Brandon were planning to arrive at 4 to receive the catering and sort out the final details. I set my alarm for 7 in the morning. On Saturday I woke up with a weird energy. At 8 the locksmith arrived. He was a nice man, the kind who works fast and talks little. Did you have a problem? He asked me while checking the door. Something like that, I said. It will be done in an hour, he replied, handing me new keys. And that was it. At 9 the cleaning crew arrived. 4 people worked in silence, perfectly coordinated. They took down every single thing. The lace curtains, the candelabras, the arrangements, the ribbons, everything. Where do we store it? The manager asked. In the garage, I replied. Everything neatly arranged. Make sure nothing gets damaged. It took them longer than I would have liked, but they did it carefully. Around noon the house looked like it used to again. The furniture in its place, the surfaces cleared, and finally the smell of flowers faded. I took a nice piece of paper and wrote the note with firm handwriting. The party is cancelled. The decorations are stored in the garage. The garage key is under the planter next to the door. The locks on the house have been changed. Do not try to get in. I taped it securely to the front door. I grabbed my suitcase and left. The drive to Lake Geneva felt different because I felt light. I arrived at the hotel, checked in, ordered some food, took a slow shower, sat by the window to look at the lake and waited. At 4 sharp the phone started going off. First my mom. I did not answer. Then Rachel, then my dad, then Brandon. I just let it ring. Then the text messages started coming. Amanda, the door will not open. What did you do? The food is already here. Answer. I poured myself a glass of wine at the hotel and watched the sun go down. At 4:30 my mom called again. This time I picked up. What did you do? She screamed without even saying hello. We cannot get in. Good afternoon, I answered calmly. How is your day going? Do not play dumb. The food is already here. Rachel is crying. There are people here. That is too bad, I said. Did you see my note yet? Yes, we saw it, she spat out. You ruined everything for us. How could you do this to your sister? I took another sip. I did what you guys wanted, I said. You told me I should not be at the party. You told me the key was enough and that I could go out and do something for myself. That is what I am doing. That was not what we wanted, she said furiously. You know that. Yes, it was, I replied. You decided that I needed to disappear from my own house, so your party would turn out perfect. Well, I disappeared. I heard crying in the background, voices, footsteps, chaos. You are a terrible person, my mom yelled. You ruin everything. I did not ruin anything, I replied. I just set a boundary. You wanted my house without me. That does not exist. Rachel jumped on the phone, frantic. We are going to set the tables up outside, she said. In the yard, on the sidewalk, wherever. I let out a short laugh. If you do not get off my property, I said, I am going to call the police for trespassing. I am not playing around. There was a silence. Then my mom spoke with a familiar coldness. You are going to regret this. The only thing I regret is taking so long, I said, and I hung up. An hour later I called my neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn, an older lady who was always caught up on everything without anyone ever telling her. Amanda, she said as soon as she heard my voice. Something really good happened at your house today. Really? I asked. What did you see? Around 4:30 a bunch of really dressed up people showed up, she said. Your mom and your sister were standing there pointing at the door, talking to everyone. They looked super mad. I leaned back in my chair. Then a cargo van arrived and they took some things from your garage, she continued. And then they all left, but they left looking absolutely furious. I could not help but laugh. Thank you, Mrs. Evelyn, I said. Honestly, that weekend was mine. I walked by the lake. I read a book. I slept for hours on end. I ate without rushing. I breathed. On Sunday afternoon I returned to the city. My sidewalk was trampled. The entrance had marks from a lot of people, and on the garage door they had spray painted an awful phrase. It said, ungrateful. I looked at it, sighed, and went inside. Inside it was quiet. It smelled like wood and cleanliness. It smelled like home. A week later my cousin Brian called me. He sounded uncomfortable. Hey Amanda, he said. I am calling to let you know that your mom is going around saying that it is over, that the family wants nothing to do with you anymore, and that they are not going to invite you to Rachel's wedding. I stayed quiet for a second and then I started to laugh. A real laugh, so hard that I had to sit down. Are you okay? My cousin asked. I am perfect, I answered, wiping away my tears. Well, he said, I just wanted you to know. Thank you, I replied. And honestly, what a relief. I hung up and sat there looking at my living room. If they had gotten their way with the party, the next thing would have been asking to have the wedding here. And then another thing and another, always one step further, always taking up my space. So yes, this was the best outcome. Since then I have been living peacefully with no calls, no voice messages, no pressure. I do not know what happened with Rachel's wedding and I do not care. My friends still come over to take pictures and laugh with me in the kitchen. The mansion became my sanctuary once again. Sometimes people who only know how to use others end up leaving on their own. This time I just closed the door on them. I understood something that took me years to accept. Being family does not give them permission to cross the line. I also grew up believing that you just endure it, that you give in, that it is better to keep the peace, and that if you say no, you become the problem. But asking the right question is not the same as asking the wrong one. The wrong one sounds like this: how do I make sure they do not get mad if I set a boundary? The right one is, what do I need to be at peace, even if they get mad? The wrong one is, how much do I have to give so they will love me? The right one is, what do I deserve in order to stay? I learned that a boundary is not a punishment. It is self-care. It means saying this is as far as you go. Without yelling, without humiliating, without breaking anything, but with firmness. And if someone only comes around when they can use your time, your house, your money, or your energy, then they were not looking for family. They were looking for an advantage. Comment: I really connected with the deeper message here. Setting firm boundaries has been one of the most important lessons in my own life. It shows that respecting yourself is never something to feel guilty about. True healing often begins the moment we stop allowing others to take advantage of our kindness. I believe we all deserve relationships that feel safe and mutual. Choosing your peace sometimes means making choices that others won't understand. Taking responsibility for your own well-being is an act of real strength. Your home, your time, and your energy are precious and worth protecting. I hope this makes you pause and think about the boundaries you might need in your life right now. You are worthy of calm and respectful connections, and I truly believe you can create them. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.